I want to start this video off by saying that this is going to be what I would call a peaceful debate and not a live debate, but I respect the fact that the three people who I'm going to talk about the responses were very respectful, stern to the point, but they approached this in a very respectful way. And I will always make time for people who do want to have correspondence in a peaceful way because I'm not about drama. I'm not about troublemakers. So anytime somebody legitimately wants to engage with me on a peaceful level, I will always respect that. So this is going to be a direct sequel to the last video that I did titled Governing Body Excommunicated or Ex-Stupidity. So two of the people from that governing body judicial comedian, and I'm gonna say fake, but not because I'm trying to be rude, but I can't speak of it as it's real just because that's my feelings on it. So I'm not saying that to be rude, but at this point, I'm still considering it a fake judicial meeting. But anyway, so two of the people that were involved in that meeting left comments on my page corresponding with me. So I respect that, and I am going to address it, and I'm going to address what they said as softly as possible. Now, sometimes I'm stern, and I'm not stern because I'm trying to be rude, but sometimes I feel that sometimes the hard truth has to come through. But I'm going to do my best to not offend anybody, but make clear my position and respond to what they said to me. And then I also want to respect Marcy XJW because I've known she's been one of my channel supporters for a while, and I will always make time for my subscribers. Anytime I can give my subscribers credit, I'm always putting on screen like when they give me ideas and when certain videos I do are based on things that they've caught. So again, I don't make time for everybody, but I will make time for XJW Marcy because I do respect the fact that she's been a supporter of the channel. So the fact that she disagrees with my last video enough to the point where she made a video on it, I will respect her enough, and I actually did watch her full video because I will always respect people who support my channel. So now let me just get right into what this first person who's part of that committee said to me. So first, I'm going to read this through because I don't want to give my narration and influence how you perceive this. So I want to read it through first, and then you can pause the video and comprehend what you think he's saying, and then I will kind of break it down. So first he says, "Thank you for your video. We are not XJWs as you say. We are Jehovah's Witnesses. We have found a way to avoid being disfellowshipped. We were elders until we denounced the crimes committed by the governing body starting in 2021. We acted as we had always done when we observed a sin. The members of the governing body are Jehovah's Witnesses just like everyone else, so they are not untouchable as you claim. There is no reason why their sins should not be exposed or judged. As an American, you are very compliant, and you can't imagine that someone at the head of a structure could be criticized. I remind you of the case of Steve Jobs, the boss of Apple, who was fired from his own company. When you realize that the essence of life is to listen to your conscience, not pay attention to the people around you, you do extraordinary things that others can't even imagine are possible. That's what Jesus clearly did, which is why we still talk about him. In the history of Jehovah's Witnesses, no one had ever dared to disfellowship the governing body. We did it. And what's more, we are still Jehovah's Witnesses. The governing body is trying to disfellowship us, but can't because it is a prisoner of its own rules. We simply turn the weapon to create against it. That's far from stupid. I'd say it's stupid to think that is stupid. Before commenting on an event, watch our entire judicial committee from beginning to end, because otherwise you're just talking into the wind. I watched your video from beginning to end. After watching it full, go to my channel. Tell me what's wrong with everything we say. Detach yourself from and study the substance and tell me what's wrong. Any Jehovah's Witness, especially the elders who watches this video, immediately understands that the governing body has sinned, and not just a little, the gravest sins there are. If after that they continue to follow the governing body, then they know that these men have been disfellowshipped, and that they are supporting disfellowshipped ones, apostates, and murderers. Some will follow their conscience and decide to avoid associating with them. Jehovah's Witnesses need to wake up and not get themselves disfellowshipped, but rebel from within, and the structure will collapse. On my channel, I describe ways to avoid disfellowshipping. You are very useful, like everyone else, but if we put others down to say that what I do is better, I think that's when the governing body will have a good laugh. So you might want to pause it just to get your own thoughts before I break this down on how I'm perceiving this. So now let me break this down. So the first thing he says is, we are not XJWs, as you say, we are Jehovah's Witnesses. We have found a way of being disfellowshipped. So let's just focus that first part. He says, we are not XJWs, as you say, we are Jehovah's Witnesses. So he's claiming that they are still active Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They're not XJWs, they're Jehovah's Witnesses. And he says we're not XJWs, as you say. So I think he thinks he's correcting me, as if I didn't know that he was claiming to be Jehovah. So I'm very aware that they're claiming to still be Jehovah's Witnesses. They're not XJWs, but you see, in my book, they're clearly XJWs. There's a movie called Carlito's Way, and if you like action movies, they're not really action, like, I guess mobster movies maybe, but if you like movies like that, you probably, this is a pretty good movie. But anyway, so in this movie Carlito's Way, Sean Penn, which is the one you see on the left, he's a lawyer, but he's a lawyer for mobsters, right? That's kind of, most of his clients are mobsters, so he's a lawyer for the mob. And Al Pacino was like working on the streets, and he's dealt with mobsters himself. And well, I'm not going to give you the whole plot of the story because you may want to watch it. It's actually a pretty good movie. But anyway, so again, Sean Penn is just supposed to be a lawyer, but he crosses the line because he's working with mobsters so much that it gets to the point where he even starts to get involved with money laundering and robbing people, and even taking out mobsters, other mobsters. But you see, he's delusional. So when Al Pacino, when his character realizes the scope of what Sean Penn has been doing, he kind of gives him a reality check, right? He lets him know, like, hey, you're not a lawyer anymore, right? You've crossed that line. You're now one of us, right? You're basically, you're a mobster now, right? So let me just play this small clip just to understand what I'm saying.
I know you're pissed. Look, I'm gonna throw in another 10 grand. I'm gonna send over the whole 60 in cash tomorrow, all right? I got this whole thing figured out. It's gonna look like the kid tried to spring the old man, the boat flipped, they drowned. Maybe they got their head split by a scow or barge or something, just for good measure. Come on. Carlito, this is never gonna come back to us, trust me.
You ripped him off, didn't you?
Who?
Tony T. You did take the $1 million, didn't you?
Yeah.
You ain't a lawyer no more, Dave. You a gangster now. You on the other side. Whole new ball game.
So you heard how he said, "You're not a lawyer no more. You're a gangster. You're on the other side. Whole new ball game." Right? Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you already know the way my brain processes things, so you already know where I'm going with this. You see, Sean Penn's character had become so delusional, he didn't realize that he crossed that line. He ain't just a lawyer no more. He's a gangster himself. He's a mobster. And Al Pacino's given him a reality check. So I'm not saying this because I'm trying to again be rude, because I am trying to be as respectful as possible without trying to offend anybody, but I'm being realistic about this. Just like in this movie, Sean Penn needed that reality check because he didn't realize he crossed the line, right? He's on the other side now. This group of people, when you go after the top, right? The governing body themselves, when you go after the governing body and make a public video showing your face, right? You're not hiding who you are, you're showing your face. You put the video all over the internet saying that you've disfellowshipped them. You're an XJW, right? You've crossed that line. You're not Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. Right? And that's the thing with Sean Penn in this movie. He didn't realize once he started robbing mobsters and even killing people that you're not a lawyer anymore, right? On paper. But you see what I'm saying? So I had already knew that this group of people were making the claim that they were still maybe even elders. I heard like they were still trying to say that they were actually elders. I mean, I'm confused on if they claim they're still elders or that they were elders. I think you're still dealing with delusion, like I said in my last video, because I don't think they want to accept the fact of they're on the other team now. Right now, I don't identify with the term apostate, like I said before, but as far as in the JW world and how we're perceived, they're apostates now. Right? Not only are they actually doubles, you can't make a public video about the governing body and put it all over the internet, and then they're associating with apostates. Right? So they're on apostate channels, they're commenting, and apostates are commenting on their channel, right? They're on the XJW side, whether they realize it or not. You're XJWs, period. So it's not that I didn't know that they were claiming that, but no, in my book, I don't care if you haven't been technically disfellowshipped, because you notice what he says. He says, "We are not XJWs as you say. We are Jehovah's Witnesses." And then he says, "We have found a way of avoiding being disfellowshipped." Now, again, I'm not saying this to be rude, but let me explain this, because I think that these three XJW elders, they're so far behind the eight ball on this, like they have a lot of catching up to do. So when he says we found a way of avoiding being disfellowshipped, 50% of the XJW community is not disfellowshipped, right? That this is not any sort of breakthrough when he says we have found a way to avoid being disfellowshipped. Every XJW out there knows they have a choice, right? If you don't want to get disfellowshipped, it's very simple, right? If you ever get that phone call where it seems like the elders are trying to have a meeting with you, you just avoid that, right? And you don't say things to certain people if you think it's going to lead to that, right? But half the XJW community is not disfellowshipped. I'm not disfellowshipped. You think I would say I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Hell no, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. Now, in my case, it's more obvious because I purposely decided to write a disassociation letter. So I made it clear by writing a letter. But do you know how many other XJWs never wrote a letter and are not disfellowshipped? So when he says he's not been disfellowshipped, I'm not impressed by that as far as accepting that they're not actually you're XJW, right? It's and again, I'm really not saying this to be rude, but this is a delusion where you're on the other team, whether you like it or not. You're not one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You are an XJW. And technically, you're an apostate when you go after I mean, they're more of an apostate than somebody can say I am because I just exposed what the governing body is doing. These men deliberately go after the governing body, say they have a meeting, and then they're saying that they took them out, they disfellowshipped them, and then they plaster it all over the internet, and you think you're still a Jehovah's Witness? No, you are definitely an XJW. And just like Al Pacino had to give Sean Penn a reality check, right? Because as you can see, Sean Penn is delusional. He doesn't realize he crossed over. All you XJW elders, you crossed over. You're XJWs. You're on the other team, whether you like it or not. Now, then the next thing that he said was where I have in black, he says, we were elders until we denounced the crimes committed of the governing body. Now, the part where he says the crimes are committed by the governing body, I'm going to come back with part three with some very shocking revelations where some of you may not even want to even deal with me anymore when you hear what I have to say with these shocking revelations. But anyway, so just keep that in mind because I'm going to be doing a part three that really touches on what he's saying there. But what I want to focus on now is that he says we were elders until we denounced the crimes committed by the governing body starting in 2021. So some people are telling me that they claim they are still currently elders. He's saying here that they were until they started to denounce the crimes by the governing body starting in 2021. So I don't know if he means in 2021 they stopped, but he says we were until. So I'm reading that as they're saying that they're not elders, but people are telling me that they say they are elders. So I don't let me know in the comments if you can clarify that and if this guy is watching. I don't want to say brother because I'm not playing the game like pretending we're still Jehovah's Witnesses. We're not, we're all XJWs, so he's not my brother, but anyway, um just to be not so uptight about it. I'll say brother just because I know that's how he talks. So if this brother, Massey, if you're watching this, could you clarify, not just for me, but for my subscribers, what do you mean you were elders until we denounced the crimes? Like, when are you still elders? And if you're not elders, were you elders when you did the video? Like, if you can clarify that. But anyway, so let me go on. So then I want to focus on what I have highlighted in blue. He says, the members of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses are just like everyone else, so they are not untouchable as you claim. Now, you see, I don't like when people are trying to win arguments or debate and they flat out lie about stuff. Now, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Because, like I said, I want to be peaceful. So I'm going to give him a free pass on this and say maybe he's mistaken and he heard wrong, but I never ever said that the governing body was untouchable. He says, so they're not untouchable as you claim. Where do I claim the governing body is untouchable? I've never said that. You can watch every single video on my page. I've never said that the governing body is untouchable, as he says I'm claiming. So I want to give him a pass on that and say he's not trying to lie. Like maybe he heard wrong or something like that, or maybe somebody else told him I said that. I don't know, but I've never said that, and I certainly didn't say that in the last video. So then he says, as an American, you are very compliant, and you can't even imagine that someone at the head of a structure could be criticized. So I don't know what the American dig is. I feel like that's a little bit of a dig towards Americans. I don't know what me being an American has to do with me not accepting a fake meeting, right? In fact, when he says I'm very compliant, does he not understand that the US is probably like the battlegrounds of freedom of people who don't accept tyrannical governments? Does he not understand that that's why the US citizens don't give up their guns? Right? Like does he not understand that? So the US is not compliant like that in that sense. Like people in the US, that's why they all have guns, because they will stand up to tyrannical systems and governments. And that's kind of why Trump won in a landslide. I'm not saying to get political, and I'm not saying that Trump doesn't do certain things that are bad, but I'm saying the idea of what Trump was represented was more so freedom and Americans having their rights. So I don't get that dig, like because I'm an American, that like we're complaining we can't, we can't imagine that somebody could be like he's got the country mixed up. He's got America mixed up with, I don't know, another country. But anyway, uh he has no idea what he's talking about when he says about somebody being criticized, because it has nothing to do with I criticize the governing body all the time. Like, are you kidding me? What I'm talking about is that in the last video, you cannot disfellowship the governing body as just an XJW. And if he claims he's a current Jehovah's Witness, he still can't disfellowship the governing body. And if he claims he's a current elder, he still can't disfellowship the governing body. My whole thing is that the meeting is fake, it's not real. So that has nothing to do with me being an American, and nothing to do with I can't imagine somebody being criticized. So his reasoning is really, it's distorted, honestly. That's distorted. I'm not sure where he's even coming up with something like that. So then if you see where I have highlighted in orange, he then says, I'll remind you of the case of Steve Jobs, the boss of Apple, who was fired from his own company. Now, before I break that down, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, I have to go back briefly to the last video. And again, watch the last video if you haven't seen it, so you understand more what I'm saying. But I gave in the last video a very basic analogy, what JWs would call illustration. I just don't like the word illustration because we heard it all the time as JWs, but basically I gave a perfect illustration that shows that these guys can't disfellowship the governing body. The illustration I gave was very simple and to the point. I said how a bunch of ex-Amazon employees cannot get together and fire Jeff Bezos. Period. It can't happen. It doesn't matter what the employee handbook says. It doesn't matter if they use Jeff Bezos' Amazon rules against them. Ex-Amazon employees trying to think that they can fire Jeff Bezos is just stupidity, sheer stupidity. So the illustration was perfect. You can watch that other video to see how I broke it down the way that I did, but it perfectly matches their situation, how ridiculous it is for them to think that they can disfellowship the governing body. So I think his comeback is he's saying that I'll remind you of the case of Steve Jobs, the boss of Apple, who was fired from his own company, right? So he's coming back with a comeback to my Amazon illustration. Well, my Amazon illustration was absolutely perfect compared to in relation to these ex-elders trying to disfellowship the governing body. It was a perfect illustration. Him now trying to use Steve Jobs being fired from Apple as a way of saying, like, oh, they can disfellowship the governing body, and look, things like that happen. Look what happened to Steve Jobs. Well, here's the problem. And again, I'm just sometimes I may sound like I'm trying to like attack or be mean, but I'm really not. I'm just this is just the way I break things down. So sometimes I can break arguments down where a person may be embarrassed and they may feel like they were attacked, but I'm not trying to attack anybody. It's just the way I break things down. So here's the problem. And let me just give you a little bit of an intro before I break down how he has no idea what he's talking about with Steve Jobs. When A lot of ex-Jehovah's Witness elders, I've noticed this from YouTube, a lot of them don't realize that they are not as smart as they were programmed to believe when they were Jehovah's Witnesses. When they were appointed as elders, they thought they were so smart, right? And when they went to elder school, they thought, oh, we're getting all this knowledge, right? They're so special. So every time elders would counsel people, right? When two elders would counsel people, at the end of the council, they always appear to be right, right? Because you can't disagree with the council, because if two elders counsel and you disagree with that, you'll be told as you're not following the direction from Jehovah, you're being disobedient, right? You're not following counsel. So elders have a very big head of thinking they're so smart. And unfortunately, when they leave the organization, I've seen it even in XJW elder interviews. You can tell they still have that arrogance where they think they are so smart. And it's not their fault, it's because they were brainwashed to believe that there's something special. But the reality is that they are not smart at all. All their knowledge was just a program. This is what the elders book says. This is what you do. This is how you counsel people. This is what the scriptures mean. It was all fake. So I'm saying that because when he gives me this Steve Jobs example as a reply to my Amazon example that perfectly made sense, it shows he really is not that intelligent. So to explain this thing with Steve Jobs, why it has nothing to do with them thinking they can disfellowship the governing body, let me just give you a very basic explanation. And this is not particular to Steve Jobs, but just something so everybody can understand the way corporations work. If you have a corporation, like let me give you an example. So let's just say that I had some invention, right? I don't know. Let's say I had an invention of a cell phone where the battery never died, right? A cell phone that had some sort of a solar battery where it just absolutely never died, right? And it's an invention that I came up with. I built it. I put it together. I tested it. Perfectly works, right? Awesome invention, right? You never have to worry about charging a cell phone again. Automatically it stays charged, right? And I just made up that off the top of my head, right? So, um, right, some sort of solar battery never actually dies. But I can't manufacture it, right? I have this great idea. I know, so I need investors. So I need to find rich people who are willing to invest and give me the money to manufacture this thing in order to try to get rich off of it, right? And sell it. So the investors are going to say, okay, well, if I give you this much money, I want this much stock in the company, right? So depending on how much money they take from investors and how many people want to buy into the company, what could happen is that even though it's my invention and it's my company, if I only own, say, 49% of the company and the other 51% is owned by these investors that gave me the money, but they're part of the board of directors, then the board of directors has voting power over me, right? So even though I may have more stock than all these other people individually, if they to collectively own 51% and I only own 41%, they could vote me out and fire me or from my own company. Now, of course, it's not really like being fired. Like I they would have to pay me, they have to buy me out as far as with the stock that's mine. I'm going to take that, but and that's just a basic example that people like this elder have no concept of apparently. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because Steve Jobs didn't own Apple. Apple is a huge corporation. It's not owned by a single person. So I don't know the whole history of Steve Jobs. Did he Was he the founder of Apple, of Macintosh? Maybe he was the founder of Macintosh or something. I'm not sure exactly what he was, but the thing is, he didn't own the company. He owned a small part of the company. So when you have a board of directors, you can get booted out, even if it's your company, depending on how it's structured. But apparently, this elder doesn't, or this ex elder doesn't have any concept of how stuff like this works. Now, another movie you can watch just to get an idea of this is there's a movie called Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise, and I don't remember how much percent of the company he had, but his father owned this company. When his father died, he took over the company, but it was also co-owned with the board of directors, right? Shareholders, people with voting power. So anyway, in this movie, the people on the board of directors conspired to get him out of the company and to take over the company. So you see, this is not the same thing what I said about Amazon and Jeff Bezos. What I said about Amazon and Jeff Bezos was very simple, is that how can a bunch of ex-Amazon employees think that they can fire Jeff Bezos? They can't do it. Now, I don't know the structure of Amazon. I don't know if Jeff Bezos is the sole owner or how much stock he had. I'm pretty sure he is the sole owner of that company. But anyway, what Steve Jobs, he got fired by the board of directors. So let me explain this, why this doesn't apply to his situation. For him to try to apply Steve Jobs to the fact that they can get together and disfellowship the governing body, those three ex-elders would have to be shareholders in Watchtower. They would have to be on the board of directors. They would have to be part of the corporation to have voting power to say, we're going to take out the governing body. You can't just be ex-JWs and think you can do that. You can't do that, right? So the Steve Jobs thing, and this is why I said earlier about like the thing with elders, and I'm not saying to be rude, is that they don't quite understand that they were lied to think they were so smart and that they're always giving people counsel. 70% of the people that are given counsel over are probably smarter than they are. It's just that the structure makes them think they're so smart. So he's got a lot of catching up to do. So no, you can't disfellowship the governing body or get them out of Bethel unless you're on the board of directors. Now, I don't even know if Watchtower is structured that way. Right. I think I heard some people say that they have a Watchtower president. So if there's a Watchtower president, there could be a board of directors, and it could be. So I don't know whose legal name, who Watchtower actually is owned by. I don't know. I don't think the governing body legally, like I don't think their names are on any document saying that they own Watchtower or that they're even on a board of directors. I don't know who's really behind it. But well, let me just go on to another thing that he said before. So when he made the comment that the members of the governing body are not untouchable, as I claim, again, I've never claimed they're untouchable. So I don't know where he's making that up from. But because he claimed that I said they're untouchable, well, let me just break this down, what I just said about the board of directors. Watchtower is untouchable, or the governing body is untouchable to people like him and the rest of the people involved in that fake judicial committee. But the only people that can touch Watchtower would be depending on how it's structured. If you have a president, if you have a board of directors, if they have voting power, and how much stock, how much of the company's owned by Watchtower or by the governing or by the governing body members. So depending on how it's structured, the only people that can boot the governing body out of their position would only be if there is a board of directors and it's got that structure, and those people who are legally the owners of Watchtower are the only ones that can boot them out, right? So I never said they're untouchable, but they are untouchable to him and the other XJWs thinking they can disavow. The only people that can, well, you know what I'm saying. I don't see. I don't want to have to keep repeating it like I'm talking to somebody who's that foolish, but I mean, it's not that hard to understand this concept. And then when he says, as an American, you're very compliant, you can't even imagine that someone at the head of a structure could be criticized. So as you see how I just explained it, right? I just explained it for you what I'm saying. So when he says that it's because I'm an American that I'm not getting it, no, it's not because I'm an American. It's because of what I said in my last video, that you're dealing with sheer stupidity. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with me being American. It's sheer stupidity. If a bunch of ex-JW elders, and even if they say they're current ex-JW elders, it's sheer stupidity. You cannot disfellowship or get rid of the governing body unless you're shareholders in a company and you have voting power over them. And it watched again only if it's structured that way. I don't know how Watchtower is structured, but I know they're not on the board of directors. I know that. So now let me go into what I have highlighted in green. He then says the governing body is trying to disfellowship us, but can't because it's a prisoner of its own rules. So again, I don't care if they're disfellowshipped or not. Half the XJW community is not disfellowshipped. In my book, just like Al Pacino told Sean Penn, when you go after the governing body the way that they did, you're not you're XJWs, whether you're disfellowshipped or not, you're XJWs, right? Plain and simple. Believe what you want, but it's delusional if you think you're still one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You're not. But when he says, "Oh, the governing body's trying to disfellowship, but they can't," I got to thank Heather Wilson for this. So I'll put her comment on the screen. When I do this video if I could find it. But a light bulb went off when she left me a comment because she was mentioning about how like sometimes we were told when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, oh, a whole congregation of elders got dissolved, right? They dissolved the whole congregation, right? The elders all became rebellious and they're no longer like. I remember hearing stories like that. And that's all that we're told is, oh, well, the circuit overseer came back and got rid of all the elders and the whole congregation was corrupt. And I think Menlo Park had a situation like that. You can ask my friend John about that Menlo Park, but anyway, a light bulb went off because when he says the governing body is trying to disfellowship them but can't, a light bulb went off with Heather's comment is that whenever we heard those stories about, oh, a congregation of elders became rebellious and all this stuff, it's probably people like this guy and the others part of this fake committee. Is that when elders realize that the governing body is corrupt and they don't want to take direction from them, that's where this happens. Where like, and I don't know, I'm just gonna kind of like speculate on how it works, but like, say if you have a kingdom hall that's registered with the town, they could legally be registered as I don't know, watchtower clergy or elders or however it may be worded on legal forms. So if they're in another country, their local town could have paperwork that says, okay, this is their kingdom hall and they are serving as elders to the congregation. And there could be something like that legal where the governing body can't technically disfellowship them because they may have something in the public clerk's office that says they're clergy to the watchtower or to the local kingdom hall. So there's technicalities like that, but this is not anything new, right? There's plenty of stories where that happened, where elders decide to reject the governing body, but then the governing body just says, okay, they're all disfellowshipped, whether it's technically with the town or not. So and I think the most famous one would be when Rutherford came in and then they broke off and became the International Bible Students, saying that they were still believing Jehovah and all that stuff. So that's nothing new what he's saying. So I'm not really impressed if he's saying, oh, they're trying to get this fellowship, but they can't do it. It's just some technical thing, probably. And if they're in another country, don't mean anything, right? Just like Sean Penn thinking he's still a lawyer when he's robbing mobsters and killing people, right? You're an XJW. I know maybe they don't want to accept the fact that they're part of the so-called apostate community, but it's not as bad as you think, right? You don't have to be afraid, but I think they're in denial that they're on our side. They don't want to be on our side. They want to be Jehovah's Witnesses still. You see what he says himself. We are still Jehovah's Witnesses, but you're not. I'm sorry to say you're not Jehovah's Witnesses. It doesn't matter if you're not disfellowshipped. Half the XJW community is not disfellowshipped. So then he says, if you see what I have highlighted in black, that's far from stupid. I'd say it's stupid to think that this is stupid. So he thinks that I'm stupid because I think this whole fake committee is stupid, right? Well, I just explained to you the thing how the board of directors and shareholders and all that stuff works. And he doesn't know that. So I don't know if he really thinks that he can disfellowship the governing body based on Steve Jobs being fired when they are not on the board of directors of Watchtower. I mean, I don't know, but he thinks I'm stupid for not accepting the fact that they can't disfellowship the governing body. But I'm not being stupid because I'm explaining very detailed how these things work and that you can't do it, right? It's not. But anyway, so let me go on. Then he says, before commenting on an event, watch our entire judicial committee from beginning to end, because otherwise you are just talking into the wind. I watch your video from beginning to end. So when he says, I watch your video from beginning to end, I said in my last video, I'm not playing Hungry Hippos, right? I'm not playing House. We're not children. That's child talk. I don't mean to be rude, but just because he watched my video, no, I don't have to go and watch his video because oh, he watched my video. So I don't need. I only watch videos that are worth watching to me. So if he watched my video, thank you for watching it, right? And if you're watching this one, thank you for watching this video. But it doesn't mean that we're children and I have to now go and watch your video because you watched my video. No, I'm not watching. I tried watching it and I can't do it. And I'm going to explain later in the video why I can't sit through that whole video, but I'm not watching it. I just don't got time to watch something that I feel is that level of stupidity. And I'm going to get into later on why it's so hard for me to even sit through. And I did try to watch it, but no, I don't have to watch it because you watched my video. Now here's the part that I really do think sounds delusional, right? So we see what I have highlighted in red and then emphasized in black. He says, any Jehovah's Witnesses, especially the elders who watches this video, immediately understands that the governing body has sinned, and not just a little, the gravest sins there are. And here's the part that's delusional. If after they continue to follow the governing body, then they know that these men have been disfellowshipped and that they are supporting disfellowshipped ones, apostates, and murderers. Do you realize how delusional that is? I mean, think about it. This is what he's saying. This is what he just said. He's claiming that if any Jehovah's Witness, and especially the elders, but if anyone watches this fake meeting they had, they will immediately understand that the governing body has sinned, right? And then if they continue to follow them, they know that these men have been disfellowshipped. Do you see how delusional it is? So he's basically saying that any Jehovah's Witnesses watches that video understands that they have been disfellowshipped. It's hard for me to even explain the level of delusion, right? So any Jehovah's Witness that watched this video would accept what the governing body, they were really disfellowshipped. So then if they continue to support the governing body, now they're talking to disfellowshipped ones and apostates. They are not disfellowshipped. Go to jw.org and tell me, right? Because the last time I went to jw.org, I believe the governing body was still there. Right? I didn't even watch the annual meeting, but this new annual meeting that come out, I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch it. Was the governing body missing? Are they not there because they are disfellowshipped? Right? He's writing it so confidently. He's saying that they are disfellowshipped. These men have been, look what he wrote. These men have been disfellowshipped. He really believes it. And then where I have circled, he says there that if anybody talks to the governing body because they are disfellowshipped now, they're supporting disfellowship people and apostates. Well, I know how hard it is for this guy and his other XJW elders to acknowledge the fact that you're on the other team now, right? You're on another team. You're no longer a Jehovah's Witnesses. You are an apostate, right? You're not a Jehovah's Witness. You're on the other team. I know that's hard to believe, but the governing body are not the apostates. You're the apostates in Jehovah's Witness world. Let me just clarify that. Because as I said many times before, that I don't identify with the term apostate, right? So I get that part, but I'm just speaking in general terms because the fact that they think, see, it's easy for me to say I'm not an apostate because I have nothing to do with Jehovah's Witnesses. But the fact that they think they are still Jehovah's Witnesses in their world where they're saying they're still Jehovah's Witnesses, they are apostates now. You're on the other side. You're on the other team. You are an XJW, right? And don't be so ashamed of it. But you're on another team now. And no, you didn't disfellowship the governing body. Now, one thing I thought was interesting. So this person, Nurse 580, says this. So Nurse 580 on my last video, she says, it's a pity they didn't explain exactly why they did this video, right? And I agree with her there, like, because they should have did a better effort even explaining it before they even released it, like exactly what's going on, what the hell is it? But this is why I want to show you her comment. So, and I'm assuming it's a woman, but there's male nurses too, but I'm assuming it's a woman. She says, with an explanation mark, she says, obviously they know there's no way they can really disfellowship the governing body. And then at the end, she says, they're not stupid people. So she's kind of telling me off, not that I'm offended by it at all, but I'm saying that she kind of maybe I don't want to say she's telling me off, but she's kind of being blunt and kind of like a little bit like I'm dumb kind of because she's saying like, well, obviously they know there's no way they really disfellowship them, right? They're not stupid people. Well, I really hope that Nurse 580 is watching this video because they are very, very serious. He's making it very clear, so clear that he's saying that if anybody continues to associate with the governing body, then they know they were disfellowshipped if they watched that video, and they shouldn't be. So that's how confident he is. He's saying it for real that if any Jehovah's Witness watches their fake meeting, then they know the governing body has been disfellowshipped. And you see, for Nurse 580, I don't know if she's new to my channel or not, but I just want to explain this. If you want, in my last video, I gave you three options for a reason. You see, I always cover my tracks. I don't make videos unless I know I have enough information to back it up. Right? People send me stuff all the time, and sometimes I can't make videos on it because I won't make a video if I don't have enough to back it up. There's a reason in my last video that I gave you these three options. And C being delusional. So when Nurse 580 comes to their rescue and says, well, they obviously know there's no way they can do that, right? Like thinking that I'm making a claim that they think that is real, but obviously they know it's not real. What she doesn't realize is that he's incriminating himself. For anybody that said to me, and other people said the same thing too, oh, it's just symbolic. They know it's not real. No, I think you're dealing with delusion. He believes it's real. He believes this is so real that if you continue to associate with the governing body, you know they were disfellowshipped, right? Really? And again, I know it sounds harsh the way that I'm speaking. I'm just kind of giving you the facts. So I don't know him. I hope he doesn't take this personal. I'm just processing his own words, right? And his own words are showing delusion, right? Mixed with a little bit of stupidity. And that's not just to attack anybody. I'm just saying this is what he's writing me. I'm only responding to what he's saying. Then he says, where I have highlighted in brown, he says, on my channel, I describe ways to avoid disfellowshipping. So going back to what I said before about elders who think they're so smart because they're brainwashed to think they're above everybody. And a lot of XJW elders don't realize when they come out that their experience was all garbage. It was all like a waste. Right. In fact, sometimes, and I'm not saying this to be rude, but sometimes like people have contacted me who are like circuit overseers and things like that, and they say things like they feel they have to give me all their credentials. Oh, I was in a circuit work and this and that, and I served and he was greater. They give me their whole like resume, and then we talk. And I'm not saying it in a night and to be rude, but it's like I noticed that is like they don't understand that like your credentials in the organization mean diddly squat. I don't know if diddly squat is still a word that people use. I used to use that when I was a kid, but that's just a word that came to me. If you're an XJW elder, all your experience and you're in a circuit work, it means diddly squat once you leave. That means nothing. In all honesty, the smartest people that I know in the XJW community are all women. And I'm not making that up. And I'm not saying it to put any of the men down that I know. I'm just saying that of all the XJWs that I know, if you ask me who are the five smartest XJWs that I've talked to, right off the bat, I'm going to name five women or six or seven. Right? When I talk to people, women are some of the smartest people in this organization, not the elders. A lot of these elders, they're behind the eight ball. But anyway, so going back, the reason I'm bringing that up is because when he says, on my channel, I describe ways to avoid disfellowshipping. This guy still says he's a Jehovah's Witness, right? Anybody that still says I am one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I am not an XJW. The XJW does not need his help to find ways to avoid disfellowshipping, right? XJW's been figured that out, right? Why they were still PMO and just contemplating leaving and they started watching an XJW videos, they've already heard all the different ways to do things. The XJWs do not need advice on how to avoid disfellowshipping from a guy that believes he's still one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So I'm not saying to be rude. I'm saying that because what he should probably do, this guy, is be humble, accept the fact that all your elder training means diddly squat in the real world, all garbage, and just be a student. Watch XJW channels, be a student, and learn. You learn better ways to avoid doing things. You're not in a position to offer help to anybody at this point. And I'm not saying it to be rude. I'm saying that takes time, right? If you're still calling yourself a Jehovah's Witness, you're not in a position to be helping XJWs. You need to help yourself realize you're not one of Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. You crossed that line. You're an XJW, right? So just learn from some of these XJW channels. Don't even say on my channel, I found ways to avoid disfellowshipping, right? Like XJWs haven't already figured that out 5 years ago. So now let me go to the second, or let me go back because I do want to be transparent. When he says at the end, I didn't highlight it, but he says, you are very useful like everyone else, but if we put others down to say that what I do is better, I think that's when the governing body will have a good laugh. Well, no, I don't think the governing body is really laughing at that, but I will admit, right? He has a point, and I don't claim that I'm always going to do everything perfect, say everything perfect, and do everything right. So when he says that, but if we put others down and say what we do is better, so I admit, and I apologize that in my last video, I was so strong with my points, I came across as kind of like saying that like my work is better than all these other work that these other XJWs are doing. And it's wrong for me to say that. So I think he has a good point that I probably should have worded some of the stuff I said in that other video completely differently. I still stand behind with the meaning of what I said because what I was getting at is that I am playing chess while these other channels are playing Hungry Hippos. I'm saying that in the sense of having fake meetings and covering stuff that's not important is not going to shut this organization down. So I stand by everything that I said in that last video about the importance of information that will actually shut this religion down. But I didn't have to make a comparison as bold as I did specifically even talk about my particular videos. I could have just said in general, all the videos that are talking about this dark stuff that the governments need to be aware of so the religion can be exposed. So now let's go to the next ex-Jehovah's Witness elder. So this guy says, and I'm going to read the whole thing before I break down exactly the parts I want to focus on. So he says, hi, bro. I like what you explain in your normal videos, but on this one, frankly said, you don't really understand the matter. You lack information about what is going on, then you become judgmental. The couple from Norway that you are speaking about are nice, as you said. We have found us many of that sort too. They do not have a YouTube channel, but share the thoughts with a similar spirit. They resist dictatorship. Everyone's job in exposing the watchtower Everyone's job in exposing the watchtower is can help. You have your approach and others have theirs. Could you take into account that there are tons of XJWs who are not aware of the truth about the truth? They need several steps to understand what is going on behind the nice facade. Many woke up in 2020 and governing body pushing the members to take the J. The committee, the jab, the committee I participate The committee I participated in was a response to those injustices and lies told by the governing body. If you take the time to consider the substance of it, you will understand. In addition, there is a context to all of this final part, aka the Judicial Committee. Make research, then you will see that not everything is starting in English speaking countries. What a pity that you are comparing our actions with yours. We should avoid being compared since it creates divisions. We worked from inside in order to defend and take into account all those who suffered, died, who were ostracized, and lost privileges or friendships. All of that since they had a different conscience on the matter of the vaccine. I'm thinking, did you cover it on your channel? Do you consider it a major subject? Have you got testimonies of those guys? It is up to you to course to publish what you judge fine, but please do not reject things too quickly that could be eye-opening for many JWs. I hope you will reconsider your thoughts on your approach. And a bit of teasing, love is not jealous. So one thing I forgot to highlight that I will comment on before I forget is when he says, did you cover it on your channel? So if you go to my channel and you go to oldest videos and look at the very first video called Jehovah's Witnesses Are the New World Order, edit it for YouTube. The reason it says edit it for YouTube is because when I talked about the Vex, and I talked about things way deeper than I think this guy has any idea of about the Vex, it got banned and taken off YouTube. So I had to edit out all the stuff that I said about the Vex way before. This guy was probably still conducting a Watchtower study, completely asleep when I was doing that video. So, that's not accurate because I think he said they started to do it in 2021. So never mind. Take that back. But anyway, so long story short, yes, I have talked about it and the video got taken down, and that's why I haven't mentioned it. But I think we all know that like it's becoming a little bit more relaxed because it's so obvious that there's something wrong with it that you're not getting banned the way that you used to. But yes, I actually did cover it. Now I'm gonna cover some serious things about the whole Vax thing in the next video that's gonna be very, very mind-blowing information, way beyond what these three guys are talking about regarding the whole Vax thing. So in part three, I'm gonna blow probably his mind on what I have to say about the whole Vax stuff. So you're gonna see what I have to say, but to answer his question, oh, I did cover it, but I got banned. And I think in the United States it was YouTube was more strict about stuff like that. Like certain countries were able to post stuff without getting banned so quick. I don't know why, but yeah, I did cover it. So but you'll have to watch the next part to really see what I have to say. So now notice what I have highlighted in red. He says, you don't really understand the matter. You lack information about what is going on. It's not that I don't understand the matter. It's because they're working on a delusional level that they think I don't understand because I'm not in the delusion that they're in. I understand exactly what's going on and what they're trying to do. What they're not getting at or what they're not understanding is that I'm breaking down the fact that having a fake make-believe meeting like kids play house, it's not real. You can't disfellowship them. It makes the XJW community look bad. Right? Let me jump ahead. So when I say it makes the XJW community look bad, so they have a website called adverseeventsjw.org. And I'm going to get into this website later. So for some to say I didn't do my research, oh, trust me, I do the research necessary, even if I don't talk about it. So this group of ex-elders have this website. And if you go to their website, what you'll see is breaking news. 8 members of the governing body have been disfellowshipped. Right. And I hope Nurse 580 is still watching because as you can see, They believe it's real. But if you look at their website, well, let me ask you this. If you look at their website, what do you think would happen if you sent this to a Jehovah's Witness, an active Jehovah's Witness? You know what they would say? Apostate lies. Look what apostates are posting. Look, what a lie. The governing body is disfellowshipped. And you know what? This is a lie. But do you see how misleading this is? This is an official website that these ex-elders created, and it says breaking news. Doesn't this look like a real story? Does this look like it's just symbolic? They're serious about it, right? They are dead serious about this. So going back to what he said when he's saying that I don't really understand the matter. No, I understand it, but it's what it is I'm not in a delusion. I understand that posting a fake news article like that, it's fake. It's a lie. It's not true. You post something like this, Jehovah's Witnesses are going to say apostate lies. Look, that is an apostate lie. The governing body has not been disfellowshipped. Go to jw.org. Do you see they're missing? They're still very much active. So what is a witness going to think when they see that? It's an apostate lie. So it's not that I don't understand where you're coming from. I understand it. And when he says I lack information, the reality is that they lack intelligence, which is why they're not seeing that you can't do it, and it's not a good thing, and that you're flat out lying about it. The post a news article, that's a flat out lie. So then, if you see what I have highlighted in orange, he says, "You have your approach, and others have theirs. Could you take into account that there are tons of JWs who are not aware of the truth about the truth? They need several steps to understand what is going on behind the facade." So here's another point where I will agree that he's right. He's right. I have my approach, others have theirs. So I came across very strong in my last video because I do see that the way that I break things down, if people were aware of what I'm pointing out, it would shut the organization down. Certain people I can see their motive isn't to try to get Watchtower shut down. They just want to put information out there, I guess, for XJWs or JWs that are waking up and got information. So some just want to put information out there about Watchtower. I'm trying to shut them down. So so I guess that's where the motives are different. So when I'm pushing like, no, you shouldn't be wasting your time with fake stories, which I don't think you should, I'm saying, yeah, the stuff that I'm putting out is the type of stuff that would shut them down. But he's right when he says they need several steps to understand what's going on. So I get it. My approach is shut Watchtower down. There are witnesses waking up who, my approach may be too much for them. And they may need to just get the steps just to get out. So he's right. I think that I think this guy is more level-headed than the last one as far as what he's saying. But I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. He's right, and I'm gonna try that I don't do that anymore. Even though, like again, I know my information will shut the organization down. I understand that's not everybody's agenda. So no, I wasn't perfect in my last video, and I probably could have done it different. And he's right. So then he says, now what I've highlighted in green, the committee I participated in was a response to those injustice and lies told by the governing body. So again, Nurse 580, if she's watching this video, look what he's saying. The committee I participated in. My problem is that they're playing house. It's not real. It's fake. I think it's a waste of time having a fake meeting. They can have an adverse side effects website. The thing is that they can talk about the vaccine all they want and put out all the facts for the XJWs. I'm okay with that. I think people are not understanding. He's not understanding. My problem isn't the fact of the vax and the governing body and all that. My problem is the fact that you don't need to have the charade of a fake meeting. That's what I'm getting at. Have all the videos and websites you want about the vax and all of that and the adverse side effects. So when he says the committee I participated in, that's delusion, right? Option B, which is MLS video, delusion. The committee he participated in was an imaginary committee like kids playing house. It wasn't real. It's fake. It's made up. It's make believe. And if you don't believe me, watch jw.org and you tell me if the governing body's still there or if Watchtower has no leader, because hey, you've seen their breaking news on their website. The breaking news on their website says breaking news, they're disfellowshipped, right? Well, you go to jw.org and you tell me if we're done with a delusion or not. Then he says, what a pity that you are comparing our actions with yours. We should avoid comparing since it creates division. So he's right, right? He's right. Just like what other guy said, I came across a way that I kind of regret coming across. I could have explained the importance of putting out the type of information. But you see, one thing about my videos, and you could probably tell the way that I talk, is I just hit record and I just start talking. So I don't script my videos and I don't go back and change it. I don't be like, oh, let me go back and re-record it because I shouldn't have said this. I just talk, right? And that's why when people talk to me like on the phone or on Zoom calls, I'm the same exact person that they're seeing on the screen. And people sometimes are like, yeah, you're just like you are, like I already know you. Well, that's because I don't script anything. So because of that, the downside of that is that sometimes I just talk like I'm talking. So when I made my last video, I was just talking and kind of even venting on what I'm saying. So it doesn't always come out perfect, and I probably shouldn't have said a lot of things the way that I said in the last video. So I admit that he's right. I shouldn't be comparing my actions with their actions the way that I did it. I shouldn't have done that. Uh, but again, that's the way I make videos. It's like it's I just start talking. So and then he says love is not jealous. He says the bit of teasing, love is not jealous. So that kind of went over my head when he said that. But then my friend Anita said, uh, you call Quinn jealous. Never heard elders talk like that. Maybe you are employed by Watchtower after all. So she caught on to that too, that he was saying that like he thinks that I'm jealous, which is maybe why he thinks I'm, you know, saying that their video is make believe. I don't know. So he replies to her and he says, definitely, my comments keep disappearing. And then he puts a little crying eye, like his comments are disappearing. So two things about that. I understand, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I understand why his first mind is thinking that I'm jealous because that's how elders think. And witnesses are jealous people. So when I was a ministerial servant and other servants got appointed and elders and I wasn't, I did get jealous. I admit it. Yep, I was right in that system. Think I need to get appointed. I need to get appointed, right? Why is Jehovah not appointing me? So like in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses, brothers are kind of like molded to be jealous all the time about who's giving a talk, who gets to give public, who's getting appointed an elder, right? Who gets a part during the meet of the circuit overseer? Who gets to work with the circuit? Like, so I could see that's probably why he's not thinking logical. He's thinking like maybe I'm a little bit jealous. But no, I can assure you there's no jealousy if everybody knows that why my videos are shadow banned and my channel suppressed. So if I was jealous of these other channels with all these subscribers, I would just put out that type of content and just be like governed by the updates. I don't care about people having more views. It only bothers me in the sense of I wish those channels with more views would put out the real serious content that would shut Watchtower down. Like that's my problem with it is spread information is going to shut Watchtower down. So anyway, but I could see again why an elder would think it has to do with jealousy, but no, it has nothing to do. Believe me, I'm not jealous of a bunch of men that believe they're still Jehovah's Witnesses, right? You think you're still Jehovah's Witnesses, never in a judicial committee. I don't want to be you. Trust me, I'm not jealous of you. But then he says, I guess one reason why he thinks I'm jealous is because I'm deleting his comments, is what he thinks, right? Because his response is definitely my comments keep disappearing when she says you call Quinn jealous. So as far as what he's saying there, I know that this ex-elder, I know they do not want to accept the fact that they're on another team now. I get it, right? They don't want to be an XJW. They don't want to be an apostate. They're and their delusion. They say they're still Jehovah's Witnesses. So I get it, right? But I just want to give this guy some knowledge that when you're on the other side, right, you're no longer Joe's witness, you're one of us, and you're speaking the truth and you're talking and you're exposing the facts. Welcome to the world of comets disappearing, right? Let me just say that. It's going to happen. So I'm not doing it. My own comments disappear. I've actually kind of given up commenting on other videos because my comments never show up on other people's videos, but comments disappear all the time. So just to let you know, if you're watching, no, I didn't delete any of your comments, not one of them. But while we're on that subject, I will just put it out there for people that are aware of this. The only comments I ever delete or block are two types of comments. When someone is deliberately coming on and just trying to start trouble, right? Just because I just don't got time for that, right? I could easily go toe to toe with these people. I just don't got time to play games. I'm not here to fight with people who don't even show their identity online. Why would I waste my time with someone that's just like an icon and they don't even show who they are and I'm going to fight with these? I don't have time for that. So when somebody comes on and I know they're just purposely trying to start trouble, I will just block them off my channel. And then I delete comments if it's like a watchtower, like AI system. Sometimes I'll get these really long comment and you can tell it's like AI, or I think it's AI. It's like this really long comment, and they're just trying to gaslight everything that I said. Like it's very specific. Like you can tell it's like a watchtower thing. So comments like that, oh, I will delete them. But I'll never delete a comment that just disagrees with me or even doesn't like me, as long as you're not deliberately just trying to start drama, or it's like you're deliberately trying to gaslight and manipulate. I don't touch any comments. So welcome to the other side. And don't be so worried about being caught. You're an XJW now. I know it's hard to accept. You want to still think you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but you're an XJW. So get used to comments disappearing. It happens to all of us. So the next person who I want to address in this whole thing is Marcy XJW. So I appreciate her, and I really don't have time to deal with people that are causing drama and stuff like that. So I won't even engage or waste my time with troublemakers and people just aren't like, I just don't got time for it. I just don't care. But I will make time for her. So I did watch her entire video. She made a video because she wasn't happy with my approach of my last video, and she was disturbed enough where she felt she needed to make a video. So for her, I and her, she's a subscriber, and we don't have to agree. But I did watch her whole video. Now I can't remember everything she said, but I'm gonna comment on just some of the things that I recall her saying that I think need to be addressed. Now, the first thing I just want to say, because again, we can agree to disagree, so it's okay. But I just want to say, just for the future, that she doesn't have to put my first and last name in the title, right? I mentioned this before. It's like a code of honor thing. You just don't put people's first and last names in the title of a video. You just don't do it. Not unless it's something really good and you're just like, you know, praising them for some reason, like if it's a good thing. But when it's a negative video, you shouldn't put people's first and last name in the title. Just don't do it. Now she could have put DJWB, right, which is my YouTube name, or she could have wrote out the whole thing, a calm look at deconstructing Jehovah's Witness, but I kind of feel like she used my first and last name kind of just for clickbait so that like maybe my subscribers would watch it. I don't know. But just for reference, if Mercy's watching it, just don't do that again. Like you don't have to put the first and last name. It's just a respect thing. Um, and I'm only saying that because I do like you, so I don't want to be irritated. So I'm saying like for future references, you shouldn't do that. But anyway, so the four things that I recall, and again, I did watch the video, but I've been doing some over the road trucking, so I haven't been getting back to people a lot. So I did find time to watch it, but I couldn't watch it a second time. But these are some of the vague things I remember that I do want to address that she was concerned with. So I'm going to give her the time to explain it. So the first thing that I recall her saying was bullet point number one. She said I didn't do research as I normally do. So she went on to say that like I usually do research, but I didn't do research in this case. And she went on to say that like uh if I'd done research, like they're not XJWs, they're elders and stuff like that. And the thing is about the vax and all that. So that's what she felt that I didn't do the research I normally do. So I did do research. As I said earlier, like I'm fully aware that they're claiming that they're that they are current Jehovah's Witnesses, but I reject that, right? Just like Al Pacino had to give Sean Penn a reality check. They're XJWs as far as I'm concerned. So it's not that I didn't research and know that they were claiming that. I just reject that. And they're XJWs, whether they like it or not. They're on another team now. Um, and another thing I want to say too about the research thing is that well, I'll get into that later because that's going to go into the second bullet point. But I'm fully aware of what they're claiming. And I did enough research where I found their website, where they're making an apostate lie, breaking news, because this would be presented as a lie. It's not true. This is something that Jehovah's Witnesses would say, you see that the elders are going to love this because they're going to say, you see, didn't we tell you that it's apostate lies? Look, they posted a fake article, right? The governing body's disfellowship, apostate lies. This is why I'm saying that I don't like the way they're doing things. They can have all the adverse side effects, COVID and all that stuff they want to talk about the vax, talk about the governing body pushing it. My problem is that you're lying about it. You're making fake stories up. This is a problem. You can't have a fake story like this because witnesses are going to say, you see, it's apostate lies, right? It has nothing to do with it being about the vax. I know what it's about. I'm seeing that you can't post fake stories like this and claim that it's real. That's my problem with it. And you should be focusing on real stories because it's a fake story. So anyway, back to Marcy thinking I didn't do research. So on their website, I mean, they even have a book, right? And the book that they have that they wrote about this, when I went to the PDF, like, doesn't this look like Watchtower literature? Like, look at the paragraphs, look at the quote of the scripture. I don't want to deal with Watchtower. I don't want to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses. If these people think they're still I know they're not Jehovah's Witnesses, they're XJWs, but if if they're pretending to be Jehovah's Witnesses, I mean, look at this. I have not looked at something like this except when I was a Jehovah's Witness. This looks like Watchtower. I have no interest in any of their information in their books because they're writing it like Watchtower, right? Why would I want to read something like this that looks like I'm reading a Watchtower publication? And then going back to again, doesn't think I did research. Well, I'm not sure, Marcy, were you aware that they're charging money for these governing body official flyers that they were disfellowshipped? Are you aware of that? Because it's right in their website, right? Look at the bottom. 50 flyers for $33. Then you have 100 flyers for, I'm sorry, yeah, 50 flyers for $33. Then you have 100 flyers for $50. But get this, right? Because they're showing you that brotherly love, right? Because they're Jehovah's Witnesses. So brotherly love, they're giving you an awesome deal because you see, for 500 flyers, you only have to pay $180, right? You see how much they love you, that brotherly love as elders, right? Because think about it like this. So if you look at the middle, 100 flyers for $50. So if you wanted 500 flyers, well, according to the middle, that would cost you $250, right? Because it's 100 flyers for every 50. So instead of paying $250 for 100 flyers, I mean, I'm sorry, instead of paying $250 for 500 flyers, they're giving you brotherly love. And they're saying, hey, if you buy 500 flyers, we'll give them to you for $180, right? So you see how nice they are, right? So Marcy, I don't know, like, did you do research on this group? Did you know they're charging money for flyers, right? Go right on their website, adverse-events-jw.org, right? And you can buy some flyers for them, official flyers, lies that the governing body was communicating. You want to buy some lies, a pack of 500 liars, Oh, flyers and a liar's rhyme, right? So flyer liars, right? You could buy some flyer liars for $180 and you can spread this lie that they were disfellowshipped for $180, right? So trust me, I did my research. I did enough research to know that something don't smell right about this whole thing, right? That's the research I did. So then the second thing that Mercy said that she didn't like was I admit that I didn't watch the full video. So I did. I admit I literally watched about a minute. I played it for like maybe 20 seconds, couldn't stand listening to it. I then tried to like, okay, let me fast forward to the middle, see if it gets any better. Same thing, went to, and I'm done, right? No more than a minute. And I admit that. But here's the thing. When you do research on things, you don't have to read or watch the whole video. If I did a video about Fred Franz's Crisis of Conscience book, I don't necessarily have to read the whole entire book. If I wanted to mention something about the book, depending on what I'm saying would depend on how much of the book I actually have to read. But you don't always have to read the whole book or watch the whole video to do research on it. Right? I mean, I've done it on my channel. Like there's times where I've made videos about certain aspects of a annual meeting. No, I don't have to watch the whole annual meeting. I can watch just parts of an annual meeting, and depending on what I'm researching, I may not have to watch the whole thing. So I watched enough of it to know that what I heard was accurate. I already heard what it was that they got together, they had this fake meeting. It was fake, it's not real. And they took it like they pretended it was real. So me skipping through it was enough for me to verify what I already knew about it. So I didn't have to watch the whole video to say what I'm saying. Now I am going to play part of the video um directly from YouTube because I want to show you why I can't watch this video because I admit I tried a second time. I said, "You know what? Let me try it again because okay, because the other that ex-elder he asked me to watch it too. He said watch my whole video because I watched yours, right? Like children, right? I gotta watch his because he watched mine. But anyway, she asked me to watch it too. So I tried to watch it and I couldn't watch it. So I'm gonna play just 2 minutes, right, of this video. And before I play, let me tell you why I couldn't watch it. And then you let me know if you see what I'm seeing. So when I tried to watch it, they're using an AI voice, and it's the same AI voice for all three of them. What I mean is that if they're going to use an AI voice, there should be a different tone for each person talking, right? So one AI voice for when one guy talks. When the black brother talks, there should be a separate voice for him. And then when the other guy talks, so you see what I'm saying? There should be. Now this may sound like a stupid thing I'm complaining about, but this when I play it, you're going to see what I mean. Why it's so hard to listen to when they have the same voice. You need to have different AI voices if you're going to use AI so that you can listen to it. So right, so it's tolerable. The way that it's done, it's hard to listen to because it's the same voice for all three of them. And then the lip movement is so awful and it's not even coordinated correctly. So they could have done a better job. They could have. Why didn't they take the effort to have each one have a different voice and do some editing so at least the face is not like still and then the lips like you could do a better job matching the lips. It could be done better, but it was done so sloppy, right? It was done so sloppy. It kind of offends me that they want people to take it so seriously and you take it that sloppy, right? If you're really elders still, you should have put more effort into it. But anyway, so that was one reason why I couldn't watch it. And the second reason why I couldn't watch it is that right away it was too JW sounding, right? They sounded exactly like Jehovah's Witnesses. So when they say that they are still Jehovah's Witnesses, I believe they believe that. They are delusional. They believe they are still Jehovah's Witnesses, and you can hear it in their voice. Why am I going to listen to three men pretending to be Jehovah's Witnesses that sound like Jehovah's Witnesses? Right? It's hard to listen to. I can't even watch the annual meetings and all this stuff. Like I'll watch clips of that stuff because I can't even listen to these people talk at jw.org. It's hard for me sometimes to do videos when I have to listen to parts of their talks. They sound so JW-ish that it's hard to listen to. So I'm going to play just 2 minutes, and you tell me how these 2 minutes is such torture that it feels like it's 2 days is what it feels like, right? It feels like I'm at a convention, like a 3 day convention, just listening to 2 minutes of this. And that's why I'm not going to watch the whole thing when it's the same result. At the end of the video, you still can't disfellowship the governing body. So I'm not going to torture myself. But anyway, so listen to how hard it is just to listen to 2 minutes of this.
Hello everyone. First of all, to begin this judicial committee, let's introduce ourselves to each other. So Brother Yan, could you introduce yourself? Yes. So I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness family and got baptized in 2000. My theocratic journey has led me to be part of many congregations and already participated in and elders committees. I had the joy of serving in construction work first in France internationally. I also served as in 3 different branches, which allowed me to meet some members of the governing body. Very well, thank you. And Brother Serge, could you introduce yourself as well? Yes, with pleasure. I have been a Jehovah's Witness since 1992 and I was appointed as an elder in 2005. I also headed judicial committees, and these are actually meetings during which we deal with issues related to serious sins committed by certain members of the congregation in a voluntary, deliberate, and often repeated manner. This therefore requires special attention in order to help the person who is often the goal of these meetings. I have also served as a regular pioneer for many years in countries or territories where our Christian evangelizing work is officially banned. This led me to work closely with circuit overseers whom I accompanied on sometimes risky missions to help isolated or endangered brothers. Very well, thank you. As for me, Brother Mess, I have been baptized since 1985 and was appointed as an elder in 1998. So I had the opportunity to lead judicial committees. Now we will begin this meeting with a prayer. Serge, would you please pronounce it? Yes. Let us pray to Jehovah. Sovereign Lord Jehovah, we praise you and thank you for giving us the opportunity.
And that is where I cut it. I can't listen to once he starts praying to Jehovah the way that I can't do it. Right now, personally, I think Jehovah is a false god as far as like a little bit of research I've been doing into like religion and all that stuff. But when he starts praying, like, no way am I sitting through this. No, no way. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness anymore. If you want me to watch this, you have to pay me, right? It's I think the video is an hour. I made a mistake before when I thought it was 3 hours long, but I guess it's a little over an hour. If anybody really wants me to watch this, on my channel, I have a PayPal donation if you want to make donations. If somebody wants to send me $100 to watch this video, right, I'll watch it for $100, right? And I have no shame in saying that. I'm not asking for $100. I'm saying there's no way I'm going to waste an hour torturing myself watching this. The way the voices are and the movement, they didn't even put any effort into it. And then it's so JW-ish and he's praying to Jehovah. No way am I wasting an hour to watch something like this. But hey, if somebody really wants me to watch it, then hey, you want to send me $100 and write on PayPal like what it's for, you got my word, I'll watch it. Right. But that's the cost. You're gonna pay me at least $100 an hour to watch an hour of this. And before anybody attacks me for even saying that, well, hey, right, what was the cost on the flyers that so 100 flyers for $50. So hey, or these ex-elders want me to watch it. The next time that somebody buys your flyers, then send me the money, right? And I'll watch it, right? So see, I think that's pretty fair, right? I'm not asking for somebody to give me hard-earned labor to pay me to watch this video, but you want me to watch it the next time you sell your flyers, maybe send me some of that money and I'll watch it, but I am not watching that unless you pay me. So then the third thing that Marcia said that caught my attention was then she was saying how like the whole thing is really about the Vex and it's not that important. I'm making a big deal about the meeting if it was all about the Vex. The next video that I do is going to be so powerful. Again, some people may even unsubscribe when you hear what I have to say. And I'm going to get into all that, what she's saying, but I didn't mention the word Vex in my last video because I know what the Judicial Committee is about, why they wanted to pretend this fellowship the governing body. But where I'm coming from is that it doesn't matter what the meeting was about. You can't disfellowship the governing body. So it doesn't matter if it was about the Vex. It doesn't matter about if it was about whether or not people can go to college. It doesn't matter what issue they're talking about. It's a fake meeting. And then they put up a fake story on the internet, on a news article, a fake news article saying governing body disfellowship, something that is an apostate lie. And all these other XJW channels are spreading a nonsense story that is a lie. It's not true. It's delusional. It's like kids playing house, and there's more important things that XJW should be focused on than some fake meeting. Right? So that's the point. It doesn't matter what the fake judicial problem was that they were disfellowship. The point is you can't do it. That's the point. So I know what it's about. My position is that it has nothing to do with that. So I don't understand why people are trying to justify this fake meeting because of what it's about. All these brothers, all these XJW elders have to do is make a video about the governing body and how they push the Vex. Like, why do they have to play house and pretend they're having a meeting and then put out a story that's a lie? That's my problem with that. I have no problem. Talk about the Vex all you want. So it's the fact that if it's a fake meeting. So people keep trying to combine the two. But one has nothing to do with the other. The governing body pushing the Vex has nothing to do with the fact of these XJWs cannot disfellowship the governing body, and making a fake story and saying it's true and putting it out, it makes the XJW community look bad because current JWs are going to be able to say apostates are liars. Look, they're making up a lie. It's a fake story. So it has nothing. So I would just suggest tell all these ex-elders just make a bunch of information about the Vex, but forget about the fake meeting because you can't disfellowship them. But anyway, I know what it's about. And then she said, I think at some point that I said the video was fake and it was a diversion. I forget how she said it. So she's saying that like I'm saying that the video is fake and I didn't do my research. Just to be clear, I gave you 3 options in the last video for a reason. I said it could be a controlled opposition or diversion, but I said it may not be. It may just be sheer stupidity. Right? And after I got comments back from that first XJW elder, I'm leaning more towards D, right? So I'm not sold on the fact that it is controlled opposition. So I just want to make it clear to Marcia that I never said that it was definitely fake, and that I mean it's fake. The meeting itself is fake. But I never said that like it is just a diversion on purpose. I think it could be, but I never said it as a fact. That's why I said it's either A, B, or C. But I kind of think it's a little bit of everything, to be honest. I do appreciate all 3 of these people. And I have no problem admitting where they're right. They're right about some of the things I said the way that I said it. They're right. I admit that. So I do appreciate the spirit of all 3 of these people. Right? I mean, Marcy's not on the same subject as the 2 ex-elders, but I appreciate her as a subscriber, and I appreciate that the way that they approached me, like it was stern. Yeah, they're a little irritated, but they have every right to be irritated because of the way that I spoke in my last video, so I do apologize for that. And I'm sorry if in this video you felt that I put like salt on the wound and I kind of maybe still had the same mindset, but I was careful to try to be more reasonable. But I just want to apologize because I'm not trying to offend anybody. And I'm okay with open dialogue with anybody that's peaceful. So they've shown themselves to be peaceful. So I won't engage with troublemakers, but If you're serious and you really don't like something that I say and you approach it the right way, I will engage with you and I will explain it. And you know, a couple things that those two ex-elders said that were right, I admit it. I was wrong with a certain things, the way that I approached them. And I wish that everybody in the XJW community could, you could say, debate this way instead of bickering and fighting and backstabbing and all this crazy stuff, right? But anyway, so I do respect all of them, and I changed the name of the first video. I just put at the end of the title 1 of 3 because this is going to be 2 of 3. And I'm going to make another video. I'm going to touch a little bit more on some of the stuff that these two ex-elders said. And I'm going to blow people's mind with the stuff with the vax and other things. And I'm going to say some very powerful stuff. So powerful that is one of those things where the truth is sometimes hard to hear. And some people may even be upset. Some of my biggest supporters may be upset with me. And the 3 of them, I hope they're not, but they may be upset too when I say what I'm going to say in my next video. So I'm out here in nature to conclude with what I feel is the most important part of the last 2 videos that I did. So this is going to be part 3 of this whole shenanigans with the governing body supposedly disfellowshipped. So I came out here in nature, sort of like a live video. Not that I'm broadcasting this live, but I'm not in front of my computer. I don't have any slides with me. I will add slides when I upload this video, but I want to do this video kind of raw and just like natural out in nature, because I'm going to say some things that are going to be very triggering. And some may be very offended by what I'm going to say. Some may even unsubscribe to my channel. But I'm truly saying this because it needs to be said, and ultimately, if you can take this information to heart, it's going to help you grow as an ex-JW and a current JW if you're watching this channel.